I woke up this morning and my Facebook is blowing up because people seem to like the video that I did on the flying cars, and so there seems to be a lot of interest in how many cameras and what it took and everything. So I'm going to try to take you through some of the different equipment that I used and how I put it together. I went to Glacier View on Sunday night, July 3rd, to start setting up for the shoot. I had purchased two GoPro Hero 2s to mount on a couple of different vehicles. On the Honda Accord, I mounted one of the GoPros to a piece of pipe that a fellow had taped into that area between the sunroof and the windshield. The other GoPro Hero 2 that I bought, I mounted on a longer piece of pipe that was stuck out from the white van. It created this shot where you could see the broadside of the van, and the idea was when the van's in the air, you could see the side of the van and then also see the landscape beneath the van. So in my mind, it was going to be an awesome shot. Dustin Hernser is Arnie's son, and he actually did a test drive down the track for me just to see how that van, the shot on the van, was going to perform, and I was pretty happy with the outcome. The reason why I put those Hero 2s on there is because they were fairly cheap, and I figured that they were going to be the ones that were going to be destroyed in impact, most likely, because they were on the outsides of the vehicles. My boss told me that I could then put two of our good Hero 3s inside of a vehicle, so I chose the black van, and I put one facing forward, which I stuck to the plastic piece that the dome light is in between the two bucket seats in front. And then the second one was mounted looking out the side window on a couple of milk crates that we screwed into the floor and zip tied together. The morning of the 4th of July, I immediately began shooting the beautiful scenery, and then I interviewed Arnie Hernser, who was the host, basically because there wouldn't be time later.
Oh, it's a parade, Glacier View style!
When the parade began, I knew that I needed to use the story that was going on at the parade as a way to set up the cars being launched. And it was also a good opportunity for me to illustrate some of the personalities that were at the party.
America!
We salute our veterans.
Well, thank you very much.
Woo! Happy 4th of July!
So that was at about 12:30, and the car launching would start after the potluck at 3 o'clock. Around 2:30, the team began to move cars into position, and so I followed them to the top of the cliff on a four-wheeler that Arnie let me borrow. I started the GoPros recording on the Honda and the white van. At that point, I also placed a GoPro on the other side of that gravel ramp, and I made it so it was facing out at the valley. That was the idea of getting that Dukes of Hazzard shot.
That baby's got to go.
When I finished at the top of the cliff and I got back down with the crowd, I had about 8 minutes to set up my wide shot using another GoPro that I had on a light stand. And so I'd have that one, and I'd also operate my main camera to capture close-up images of the cars coming off the bluff, and then I'll also use it to get reaction of the people in the crowd.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Arnie was wearing my wireless microphone at that point.
Ready, so just give me countdown and we're ready.
At this point, I was super nervous. I was shaking. I was unsure if the GoPros were going to survive or if I even could find them afterwards. I had a huge area to cover to get into position, and there were only 4 cars that were set to go off the bluff. It was a moment where I just had to collect myself and just be like, all right, just focus on this. You know what you have to do.
Here she comes, boys.
Here's the cool part. Scott Smith was one of the guys that was helping launch the cars. He grabbed that GoPro from the Dukes of Hazzard shot.
All right, that was number 1.
And he started giving us a tour of the cars and how they work.
This is the throttle. We put it in gear, and then down she goes.
Now, this part I didn't really have time to get into in the story because it was kind of complicated.
We were losing control of too many vehicles.
That guide wire system that Dustin had dreamed up is pretty cool. He welded a pipe onto each of the vehicle's spindles, which controls the steering. On the other end of the pipe was a V-shaped piece of steel that would set down on a steel cable that was stretched between pieces of heavy equipment. As the car went down the runway, the steel cable would stay within that V, and then the whole apparatus would keep the car straight.
Pull strap, take it.
They used a locking strap to hold the accelerator to the floor.
Look at this operation. This is serious engineering.
Scott Reese is a friend of Smith's and Dustin's. He was also up on the bluff recording the launches on his Samsung phone. And I ended up using his great video. He also shot his reaction.
Bats are the best!
Which was awesome because that's what I totally look for as a video storyteller, is I want to see the emotion of the moment. And Scott was awesome to capture that.
Woo! The best! Woo!
After the first 2 jumps, I was able to ask a couple of questions of people in the crowd.
I thought they were running it off of that bush.
What did you think of that?
That was crazy.
Whoa, I think that scared the baby.
What's that?
I said, I think it scared the baby.
That was awesome.
What do you think?
It was crazy. It was so cool watching it come over. Oh, man.
The noise.
It's really scared
Yes.
me. I put
It what?
It really scared me.
And then I grabbed my light stand with the GoPro, jumped on the 4-wheeler. It was about a mile to get back up to the top of the cliff. Before they set the 3rd vehicle off the cliff, I set the wide shot with the GoPro that was on the light stand, and then that's when I got the countdown from Smith.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And like we like to say, there's more to do in Glacier View. Okay, about 1 minute, minute and a half, we'll have the next one coming down the pike.
That last vehicle, the black van, the one that I had the 2 Hero 3 GoPros in, was the last vehicle to go off. I had some extra GoPros, so I set one at the base of the ramp. I set one at the top of the ramp
I go as low as you can, though.
to see that front-on shot of the car driving forward. And then I set another one off to the right side. I almost set it in front of that bulldozer.
Okay, we're ready to go here.
Here's the thing I learned about the GoPro mounting system. Those sticky pads that come with the GoPros, those things are great. When the van hit the bulldozer, the camera stayed in place.
And 1 failure.
Pardon the nerding out, but a lot of folks probably want to know exactly how many cameras I had. So I had 4 Hero 3s, I had 2 Hero 2s, I had a Panasonic HC X920, I had this guy, the Sony NX Cam, I had my iPhone, and
That'll give it some good gas.
I also had Scott Reese, William H. Bynum III. He was the guy with the drone. David Laser. He had that wide shot of the Honda coming over the cliff from the bottom, which was pretty cool. And then Levi Althans had taken this camera up the cliff to get those side shots of the cars. So after the shoot, this is when I discovered my biggest disappointments of the day. The waterproof case of the Hero 2 that was on the Honda broke apart on impact. You can see it right there on the car. The battery was ripped out, which obviously cut the power. I figured this is what happened. At that instant, the camera ceased writing the image file to the card. My colleague Lauren Holmes tried for a couple hours to recover the images, but all he could get was the low-res version. And that video cut out right as the car started to go over the cliff. So that was a big disappointment. It probably would have been one of the best shots of my career, but it wasn't to be. And then the other one that was on the white van, when I picked it up at the bottom of the hill, the camera was powered up, but it was not recording. When I looked at it later on the media card, the first shot was the van sitting at the top of the cliff, and the next was of me looking into the camera at the bottom of the cliff. Maybe if somebody from GoPro is watching this video, they might be able to have some ideas on what happened with that. I have no idea. I've also been getting some questions regarding the cleanup. I did see Arnie and Dustin and some of the other folks hauling the cars out of there, and they were picking up the pieces after the show was over. I drove back to Anchorage Monday night and edited the piece on Tuesday.
Oh, here it is, right here.
Published it Tuesday night.
Yeah, it stayed on. It's still going.
I'd like to thank the Hernsers for their great hospitality. Thanks for having me out there in Glacier View. I'd also like to thank Eric Wold, my buddy who lives in Seattle, who used to live there in Glacier View and knows the Hernsers real well. He's the one that told me about the party to begin with. And then I'd also like to thank you for watching. If you guys have any more questions about what I do as a video storyteller, please ask. You can find me on Facebook, or you can email me at Alaska Dispatch. So it's sjensen@alaskadispatch.com. SJENSEN at alaskadispatch.com. Thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day.
That baby's got to go.
That was cool.